Welcome, everybody. It's your boy, Darrell Owens, and we are here for episode 138 of One on One here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network and, of course, airing on Bowie Television. It is season 4 of our power rankings. I'm excited. We are here for it. I'm pumped up. We got a lot to get into in this show. You know, the first show is always a longer show than normal, but I'm excited because we're going to get into all of that good stuff today here on One because I'm excited. It's just season 4 of doing the power rankings. We've built on it a little more each year, so we're hoping to continue to make it great. And I'm hoping that you all enjoy it. But there's no need for me to keep on yapping about it. Let's go ahead and make that magic happen right now. 101, episode 138, here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network and Bowie TV, coming at you right now.
One, 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 one. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof. Welcome to one-on-one at Legacy Maker Sports Network.
We are here for it. I know I'm excited. We are here for episode 138 of One-on-One. And like I said, today we're going to get into all of it. The bottom is back. The outside looking in is back. The top 10 is back. The finale is back, and a little bit different this year. We got some other things we're going to be doing this year along with our player of the games. But the way we're going to do that now, they're going to be called Kings of the Gridiron. So we'll have our player of the game, offense and defense, and there'll be our new segment, Kings of the Gridiron. So I'm excited to be able to bring you all the fun stuff this year. But let's go ahead and get into it. Let's talk about last season. Let's go ahead and get last season into the out the way as we get things rolling here on episode 138. So last season, your boy, record wise, we went, we do records every year. Also, we predict games all season long. We had our Legacy Maker Pick'em League last season. Your boy came in 5th overall, was a little sad, made the playoffs, couldn't get the dub in the playoffs, lost to Christina. James Brown will go on to be the eventual champion. So congratulations to James. He's ready to come back this year and get that championship and make it back to back. We'll see about all that. We have 2 new people joining us this year. Christina is not going to be along with us this year, neither is Corey, but we have Cody Stewart, a Legacy Maker alumni, who will be taking Corey's place, and then Katie Raymond, who is a part of the Legacy Maker team. She will be taking Christina's spot for this season. So can't wait to see all that happen and all that come into fruition. But last year, 168 and 104. And the goal this year is to go past that, to surpass that. I'm trying to stay under 100 losses this year. I'm trying to get to 200 wins, but we'll see how all of that goes. And so we'll see if I can make that happen this season. But it is time. It is time to finally get into those power rankings. And you know what we do here first. We have to start off with the bottom. All right. The bottom this season. This season, it starts off a little bit different. At the bottom this season, we've got the New England Patriots. They're the number 32 team. They are, in my opinion, the worst team in the NFL this season. And it kind of makes me sad because, well, maybe it doesn't. We all as fans have watched New England dominate over the last 20 plus years. In these last couple of seasons, they haven't really looked too hot. The Mac Jones era didn't go the way that I think a lot of Patriots fans would have liked to have happen. And then we also saw the end of the Bill Belichick era, and now it's the Jared Mayo era. I got a chance to see this New England team play in the preseason game, the Commanders' last preseason game. Now, obviously, there weren't a lot of starters playing, but New England did have some of their starters playing. Jacoby Brissett, who was named the starter earlier this week, he was named the starter. He played for a little bit until he got a shoulder injury. Then they brought in their number 3 overall pick in Drake May. Personally, I wasn't impressed initially, and this is not a knock on him. It's just, and I think a lot of it had to do with that offensive line. Man, that offensive line looked rough. It was not pretty at all, and he was struggling throughout that game. So I think this year it's going to be a really rough year for this team. They're not built to win now at all. They did get rid of Matt Judon. They sent him to Atlanta, and so it's just a whole new team, and it's a whole new Patriot way. So we'll be intrigued. But for now, they are number 32. They may surprise me this year and move up the charts. Who knows? They might go to the outside looking in. Who knows? They might be in the top 10. Who am I kidding? They're not going to make it to the top 10. All right. Next, we got number 31, the New York Football Giants. This Giants team is another team where it's just like, I don't know exactly where they're trying to go. If you had a chance to see the off-season Hard Knocks, you kind of got the chance to see what the way this franchise is kind of thinking and what they're kind of looking and what they're trying to do. But for me, I felt like they did try to at least fix their offensive line. They brought my guy in, John Runyon from Green Bay. I got a chance to interview him during the Super Bowl. Really good guy. I hated to see him leave Green Bay because I thought he was a really solid starter for the Packers over the last couple of years. He was just a plug and play type of guy for the most part, and he just did a really good job. But they did a good, at least I think they at least tried to fix the offensive line. But that's not their problem. The Giants made 2 mistakes, and I think most people will agree with me. They made 2 mistakes over the last couple of years. One, you didn't sign Saquon Barkley long-term. He's your number 1 guy in the franchise. He's a fan favorite. You could have signed him for cheaper, and he would still be there. And then you could be on your quarterback journey and looking for your new quarterback. But what you decided to do was pay Daniel Jones $45 million per year, and it just don't look good. So that, to me, was a very bad move by the New York Giants franchise. And so that's something that they're going to have to try to fix. It's just going to have to try to happen at some point. And I don't know how that's going to come about. I do like Malik Neighbors. I think he's going to be really good for that team. But he's got to get somebody to throw him the ball. And I just hope they figure it out. The Giants are at 31. At 30, the Denver Broncos. The Broncos are a team that I may have really low expectations for them, and they may surprise me a little bit. And, you see Sean Payton. Sean Payton kind of knows what he's doing, and they bounced back a little bit last year from that year before when they had Nathaniel Hackett as their head coach, and we got a chance to see Russell Wilson kind of have a baby resurgence. So we don't know if that was all Sean Payton or what it was, but they kind of sabotaged themselves at the end of last season. They took Russ out when they were kind of doing well. They had won 4 games in a row. They were in the playoff picture. And then they said, you know what? Nah, I think we good. And then they held off on Russ. And I don't think they wanted him to get hurt so they could trade him. And eventually Russ would get traded to the Pittsburgh Steelers. This team this year is a lot of names that you may not know. You do know Cortland Sutton, excuse me, is destroying that. You know Cortland Sutton. Killing y'all, Cortland Sutton. You know that Cortland is probably the biggest name on the offense besides their new starting quarterback, Bo Nix, who they drafted 11th in the NFL draft. Jarrett Stidham didn't seem too happy about that. Zach Wilson, who former number 2 overall pick, is the 3rd string guy on this team. I think their offense is going to be something to kind of ponder about. We'll see if they can make anything look good during the season. That's why I have them so low. It's just there's so much. I almost said it's just so much unknown on this offense, so I don't want to say too much on them. On the defensive side, they still got Pat Surtain, and he's going to be Pat Surtain. They got Cody Barton from the Commanders. I think he will be somebody that will be really decent for them as the season goes along. So I have the Broncos at 30. At 29, the Minnesota Vikings. The Vikings are going to be a team uh to me that are going to have to they're going to try to have to find their way. Sam Darnold, who's getting his third chance to start in this league as a starter. He had a chance in Carolina. It started off at some points it was pretty decent, and then after that it just kind of fell off the wagons. He was a starter in New York, and now he's going to have a chance to start in Minnesota, and looks like there's no one to really give him a push because JJ McCarthy is out for the season, the rookie that they drafted in this past draft. They have Aaron Jones, which breaks my heart. As a Packer enthusiast, you know how I feel about that, so that breaks my heart. And then we also, they also did sign Justin Jefferson long term, which is perfect. That you got to sign Justin Jefferson long term, but who's going to throw him the ball? Like they intend for it to be JJ McCarthy in the future, but we'll see if Sam Darnold can finally break through and change a lot of people's minds. We got Minnesota at 29. At 28, I've got the Carolina Panthers, and a lot of people are probably saying, Darrell, why do you have them so high? Carolina was the worst team in NFL last year. They had the number one overall pick, which they didn't get to use. They had to give it to Chicago due to the trade for DJ Moore a couple of years ago. But I think this team will have a way better season than last year, and way better is more than what I think they were 1-15. No, they were 2-15 last year. So anything's better than that. I think they can win about 5 games this year. I think they may surprise a couple people throughout. I really like their first round pick in Xavier Leggett, and I know I'm destroying that. Old country boy, you know what I'm saying? I'm down south guy. I like Xavier, so I think he brings a different swag to the team. Bryce Young is in his second year, and what they did is they went out there and they got Dave Canales to become in and be the head coach of this team, a guy who was able to turn Geno Smith's career around, a guy who helped turn Baker Mayfield's career around to where he got a long-term extension in Tampa Bay before he got snagged to Carolina. And that's what the Carolina Panthers are hoping that Canales can do as the head coach and help bring Bryce Young along. I think Bryce Young can continue to get better. And they've got some solid receivers with Deontay Johnson and, of course, Adam Thielen, who had a really good year last year. Trevor Herbert's going to be the running back. So those are just a whole bunch of factors that they have kind of going on the offensive side. Defensively, they got Derek Brown, who they drafted a couple years ago. He's a really good player. Sean Robinson, Javion Clowney, Shaq Thompson. J.C. Horn. I think defensively they're going to be fine. If they can pull it together offensively, they can shock a couple people this year. I'm not saying playoffs, but I think they can definitely win more games than last year. At 27, the Washington Commanders. The Commanders have had a complete rebrand. It has been a interesting goal for the Commanders since the time that I've had a chance to cover this team, which is 2017, with Legacy, of course, and now with Bowie Television. And it's just every year, you get invested in the team as a whole. You want to see the team do well. And for me, I've gotten to the point where I just want to see them win football games. I've been covering them since that time. They've never had a winning season. They've made the playoffs somehow, but with a not so good record. And this is the year I think that they have a chance to at least knock on that door, or at least have a more competitive season. Bringing in Jaden Daniels, he looks like he is their guy. I don't want to jump the gun too fast, but I think he can be that guy. He's a very smart quarterback. Doesn't make a lot of crazy mistakes, and for the most part, he takes care of the football. A lot of people, are worried about his size. I'm one of those people that have been worried about his size. And when the first person that comes to mind when I think of a guy his size is a former Commanders quarterback, and that is RG3. And they both they both had a similar frame. They both were Heisman Trophy winners. They both were the number 2 overall pick for the Commanders. That's why it's like he's got to get out of that shadow. And can he get out of that shadow? We'll see. He's already people think he's going to be the rookie of the year. But I think he's going to help this team. I think Dan Quinn coming in and being the head coach, I wasn't a fan of it initially, but I like it now. I've had a chance to see what he's brought to this organization. I really do like the energy he brings when we're at camp. Also, Adam Peters, the man genius from the 49ers, I think is going to continue to help this team grow from the inside out. Commanders at 27. At 26, the Arizona Cardinals. The Cardinals, to me, I got them low now, but I think they may pull up just a little bit. I think they'll be knocking on the outside looking in throughout the season. So watch out for them, during the season. I think they're going to be a team that competes. And I have them probably maybe about 6 or 7 wins, but we'll talk about that a little bit later as well. But with Kyler Murray being back, I think it's going to be different. If they can stay healthy, James Conner, Marvin Harrison Jr. being drafted, I think they can be good. At 25, the New Orleans Saints. I have no hopes for the New Orleans Saints this year at all. And I'm a big Alvin Kamara guy, always have been. I just don't like Dennis Allen as a head coach. He has not proved that he can be really good. And I'm apologizing for everybody for that, but it just doesn't seem good. If you're a Saints fan, you got to hope that you fall far enough that you can get Shedeur Sanders next year or somebody out of this solid quarterback class that they have coming up. And I just don't think that they, have what they need right now. And I like Derek Carr. I just don't think that's it. Saints are going to be they may be the worst team in the NFL by the end of the season or knocking on that bottom 3. At 24, the San Diego Chargers. That's right, they're San Diego Chargers. That's what I said, not the LA Chargers. I don't think I'm ever going to feel comfortable calling them the LA Chargers. This team also, I feel like I don't know who is Justin Herbert throwing the ball to. They did draft Ladd McConkey from Georgia, and they drafted Quentin Johnson last year. They got rid of so much. Mike Williams, Keenan Allen is gone. No more Austin Eckler. It's just a different regime there, and so I'm intrigued to see how Jim Harbaugh will be able to turn this team around or get them to where Charger fans would like to see them go. At 23, the Tennessee Titans. This team to me might be a surprise team throughout the year as well. They got Will Levis starting at quarterback now. He is their guy. You got DeAndre Hopkins. You bring in Calvin Ridley. They brought in Tyler Boyd, a whole bunch of guys that can really do some good stuff at the receiver position. They brought in Tony Pollard. And they already have a solid defense. They changed head coaches. They move from Mike Vrabel, who had a really good reign in Tennessee, and they bring in Brian Callahan to be the new head coach. But Rand Carthon has been one of those GMs that people love to talk about. My guy, Cortland Sutton. I'm thinking about Cortland Sutton, but my guy Cortland Griffin, from the halftime show, who was on one-on-one this year in our interview session. If you want to go back, take a peek at that and listen to what he had to say about the Tennessee Titans team. He kind of sold me a little bit on the vision that Ron Carthon has down there. And I got a feeling that they may be all right this year. I'm not saying they win in the division, but they will be competitive. At 22, the Indianapolis Colts. Anthony Richardson is going to be, I think he's going to be a good player. But after last year, you want to know if he's going to be healthy. That's going to be the critical part there for the Colts. And him being healthy is going to be key to the success to their season. I'm kind of optimistic, but I'm not optimistic. I think the AFC South is going to really have a bad year, but that's just how I feel right now. And then last, in the bottom, we have the Vegas Raiders, a.k.a. the Oakland Raiders, a.k.a. the L.A. Raiders. The Raiders bring in Gardner Minshew, to be the new starting quarterback there to try to, help, booster that room. Now, there was rumors they tried to get Michael Penix Jr. during the draft, but the Falcons decided to snatch him away. And so he more likely would have been a Raider if they could have made it happen. But Gardner Minshew is the starter. Aiden O'Connell, who played well in the last season, will be the backup. Of course, they still have Devontae Adams, Jacoby Myers, who had a solid season last year. They still have the two solid young tight ends, and Michael Mayer, and then also they drafted Brock Byers with that first pick that I think they thought they were going to be able to get Michael Penix Jr. with. And then they got Zamir White, who will be the starting running back this year now that Josh Jacobs is in Green Bay. I'm optimistic about this team, but it's hard when you're in the division with the Kansas City Chiefs. I like Antonio Pierce as head coach. I think he is going to have another great year. I just don't know how it will end up. But, do we really know what any of this is going to end up as the season goes along? So here it is, our first bottom. We got the Patriots, the Giants, the Broncos, the Vikings, the Panthers, the Commanders, the Cardinals, the Saints, Chargers, Titans, Colts, and the Raiders. Now, I know some people will probably beat me up and say, Darrell, what type of bottom you got going on here? Some of it is shaky, maybe. Maybe that bottom half of the bottom or the top half of the bottom is probably a little bit shaky, but I feel really confident in that bottom half of the bottom. It'll be interesting to see as the year goes along who will make the leap, who's going to be better, who's going to be able to make things work throughout the year. That's what made last year so much fun, because during the year we saw it was just a battle, pretty much from maybe like the 8th ranking all the way down. Like it just kind of rotated throughout the year. There were some teams that were just bad all year, but it was also like from week to week, you were like, this could change a little bit. Wouldn't be surprised here. So I can't wait to see how it fluctuates throughout the season. Our first game is tonight, where we got Chiefs and Ravens, and then we'll see the Ravens try to get revenge from the AFC Championship game and see if the Chiefs, can win this one at home. But that's why I say it's just so much energy heading into the season. I'm just excited. But let's go ahead and get to the outside looking in. All right. So outside looking in, let's start at number 20. Number 20, I got the Jacksonville Jaguars. Jacksonville lost a lot of pieces that I thought would really help this team, and it really was one of them. I'm surprised they didn't try to go and lock him in a little bit longer, but they already paying Christian Kirk probably more money than they should have, even though Kirk has been solid. I don't think he's better than Calvin Ridley. They got Gabe Davis, who they brought in from Buffalo. They drafted Brian Thomas Jr. from LSU. They still have Travis Etienne and, of course, Trevor Lawrence. The man behind the center. They picked up Mac Jones to be their backup quarterback. So with all of those things kind of, twirling around, that offensively, I don't think they're going to be bad. But I don't think they're going to be great neither. I just put it out there. I think they're going to be middle of the road. They could be better, but we'll see. They also have Evan Ingram, who had a good year last year. Defensively, I think they're going to be great. Josh Hines Allen, who used to be Josh Allen, but I guess he got tired of being confused with quarterback Josh Allen, so he decided to add the Hines in there. His sister played for the Washington Mystics. Now she, I believe, plays for the Minnesota Lynx. She got traded during the season. And so to honor that part of the family, he went on and tacked on Hines Allen. He's going to be there. Eric Armstead, you got the first the number 1 pick from a couple years ago, Trayvon Walker. You got Foyce Olokun. I always say his name wrong, but he's another monster down there. He's led the league in tackles a couple times. And so they have pieces. They also have Darnell Savage, who's former Packer. I think they can be better than where I have them, but I'm not willing to just toss them and say, oh, you're in the top 10 or you're high ranking outside looking in just yet. But we'll see. But I like what they have in Jacksonville. Let's just see if they can put it together. Jaguars at 20. At 19, the Chicago Bears. Now, the Bears have loaded up. When you look at what the Bears have done in the offseason, you bring in Keenan Allen in a trade. You draft Rome Odunze. You get the number 1 pick overall, and you have Caleb Williams. You go ahead and you lock in DJ Moore for a long time. You bring in DeAndre Swift. Cole Kmet is back. He had a really good year. They're the biggest problem on the Chicago Bears offense will be their offensive line. And if they can keep Williams upright, but Williams has the legs, he can move around. That's what makes him special. He can kind of make things happen. So we'll see. Defensively, they got Montez Sweat, who was, he led both the Commanders and the Bears last year in sacks. I think he had 12 overall. He had 6 with the Commanders, 6 with the Bears. And if I got that stat wrong, you beat me up later. But he did lead both teams in sacks. He'll be back next year, this year, and so he'll be a critical part of that defense along with T.J. Edwards and Tremaine Edmonds. So I think they're going to be better. As a Packer enthusiast, I don't want that, but I feel like that rivalry between the Bears and the Packers is going to go to another level over the next 5 to 10 years with Love and Caleb Williams. As long as everything goes the way I think it'll go, it's going to be a heated battle over the next 5 to 10 years, and it won't be so one-sided. So this Packers fan or enthusiast is not too thrilled about that, but Chicago fans smile just a little bit. At number 18, the Seattle Seahawks. Seattle was on the outside looking into the playoffs last year, but they were a very competitive team, and from week to week, you couldn't just go in there and say, "Oh, we got them. They're easy. There's nothing to worry about." If Seattle's in town, you can't just look past them. DK Metcalf, Tyler Lockett, Jackson Smith-Njigba. That's your receiving core. You bring in you bring in some core pieces. You got Geno Smith back under the helm. Kenneth Walker Jr. Kenneth Walker the third at running back. Zach Cabernet, the backup running back. They've got pieces. But the biggest thing I think they did was they trading for Sam Howell. Sam Howell will continue to learn under that Seattle umbrella. He has no pressure to start. And what he did in the preseason, I was really impressed. So if Geno goes down, I don't think they're in a bad spot. Or if Geno struggles, I think Sam Howell will be able to come in and do justice. There's no pressure on Sam Howell right now, and I like that for him. Their defense is going to be solid again this year. I like I said, I just don't know where to exactly put them, but for now, we're going to leave them in that outside looking in. At 17, the Pittsburgh Steelers. Steelers could be higher on this list. The AFC North is going to be a monster again this year. They're just going to be really good again this year. I think there's a chance that all 4 teams make the playoffs. That's how good the AFC North is. And to me, the weakest of those teams in the AFC North, the Pittsburgh Steelers. You bring in Russell Wilson to be the starter. You have Justin Fields that you brought in via trade. And so you look at those 2 teams and you say, okay, we got this going on. We got this going on. Pickens is going to be the man this year. They trade Deontay Johnson to Carolina. And so it really makes me wonder how good this team could be and if they can get Pickens the ball some more because the talent is there. Najee Harris and Jalen Warren are going to have really good years. That defense is going to be that defense. So 17 for me is a good spot for Pittsburgh. At 16, we've got the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They're another team that made the playoffs last year, and I could have them too low. It's a possibility that I have them too low. But I do like what they had working there. And Baker Mayfield, I think he can continue to do what he did last year. I think the tutelage of Canales, who's now in Carolina, like we talked about a little bit earlier, I think that he can do some good things with this Tampa Bay team. So I'm really intrigued to see how that kind of rolls. At number 15, we got the Buffalo Bills. This was hard for me because they still have Josh Allen. James Cook had a really good year last year. The receiving core is not the same. They did bring in Curtis Samuel, who had a solid year for the Commanders. He's going to be there now. They drafted Keon Coleman, who seems like he's got all the personality in the world, but now we got to see it on the field. I like him. His energy is different, and it's a good energy. That's what you want to see. So for me, I'm still kind of in between there with the Bills. I've put in so much stake in the Bills in the last couple of years. They've burned me. So it's hard for me to be like, oh, yeah, they're going to the playoffs and they're going to win the Super Bowl. And I'm not doing that this year. Well, hopefully that, me not pumping them up will help them get to where they need to be. Bills at 15. At 14, the Cincinnati Bengals. This is another team that could be higher, but they've had a lot of contract turmoil the last couple of months, maybe even last year. T. Higgins wanting to get paid. He did sign a 1-year deal, but he's not happy. Jamar Chase, the contract situation has been interesting. They did lock in Joe Burrow, but he's been injured. And so They did pick up somebody after the 53-man cut that I think will be really good there, and that's KJ Henry, who was a former commander. I think he's going to bring a really good energy to that defense. But they're that team that could be a top 5 team in the league, or they could be where they are now. I don't think they'll be any worse than that. They got a good backup quarterback who came in last year and did some really good things for them when Joe Burrow went down. And so if you're a Bengals fan, okay, we still got Jake Brown and just in case as a backup. He came in and did some really good things. But we'll have the Bengals at 14 for now. At 13, we've got the Atlanta Falcons. This team, and I got them this high off of potential. You bring in Kirk Cousins, you sign him to another guaranteed contract. So kudos to Kirk Cousins because his agent is a master at what he's doing. He makes look, you're going to get paid, you're getting all your money. and what Kirk Cousins is going to do is going to solidify this quarterback position for the Falcons. What he also is going to do, and he's going to be great during the regular season. We got to see if he can make it happen during the postseason. That's going to be the part where people are like, all right, can he fix this during the postseason? That's what everybody's hoping for. But people like Kyle Pitts, and Drake London should have really good years this year where Kirk Cousins slinging them the football. So I have the Falcons right now at 13 because of those high hopes. They bring in Raheem Morris, who I think will coach up the defense just fine. They got Jesse Bates back there. They bring in Justin Simmons via free agency from Denver, and they got Terrell. So the Falcons should be good on paper, and they should win this division, probably, maybe so. But we'll see. We got them at 13. At 12, the Green Bay Packers. I have them high because of what they were able to do last year. Even though they were 9-8 last year, they're still the youngest team in football with only one player over 30. They have one player over 30, and they made the playoffs last year. But, they had a couple more of them, but those people are no longer on the team. They did lose A.J. Dillon for the season due to a neck injury, which, prayers going up for him from that. I'm hoping that he's going to be okay. And, they'll get a little bit better. But Emmanuel Wilson had a really good preseason. I think he will be a nice little piece. They drafted Marshawn Lloyd from USC, who a lot of people thought was the best running back in the draft, to go along with Josh Jacobs, who they signed in the offseason. On the defensive side of the ball, they bring in Xavier McKinney from the Giants. And so I like that pickup for them. And they pretty much still have Jair Alexander. There's still Kenny Clark, Sean Gary, and maybe a healthy Eric Stokes. To me, that is going to be key. They've drafted Javon Bullard, who looks like he's going to be just special. I like this team. Of course, I'm a Packer enthusiast, but I don't want to jump the gun just yet. And we'll see if new defensive coordinator Jeff Hafley is able to do what needs to be done in Green Bay. At 11, speaking of Green Bay, former Green Bay quarterback Aaron Rodgers is back, looking healthy. Seen some of the tapes. He looks clean out there. The Jets have a chance to be a really, 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 really good football team this year if they can figure it out. The offensive line is another spot of concern. We've been screaming a lot on some of these teams that offensive line is a concern. It's the same thing with the Jets. They did try to make it a little bit better, but if they can keep Aaron upright and, Aaron can stay healthy, the sky's the limit for the New York Jets. Their defense is, as my guy Elwood would say, A1. They're A1. So we'll see. But there it is, the outside looking in. We've got the Jaguars, the Bears, the Seahawks, the Steelers, the Bucks, the Bills, the Bengals, the Falcons, the Packers, and the Jets. That is the outside looking in. All right, so outside looking in is complete, and we're getting there. It is time, ladies and gentlemen, for the top 10. Top 10. Here we are. At number 10, the Dallas Cowboys. Dallas said in the offseason, man, we're going for it all. We're going in for it all. This is it. This is our year. We're going for it all. Well, a lot of fans will tell you that they didn't go all in. That was the thing that they were saying. They were going to go all in. They're going for it all. And I think fans may have misinterpreted that they were going to go out there and sign everybody, but I think it meant, personally, I think it more meant like, this is it. We're going all in with this group this year. And if it doesn't work out, it's going to be a lot of changes in the offseason next season. But you can't look past the fact that Dak Prescott had a really good year last year. An MVP caliber receivers in last year. They went on and locked up CeeDee Lamb. They brought back Zeke to help do things in that backfield along with Dalvin Cook. They still got Rico Dowdle in there. They still have some pieces offensively. Their offensive line is going to be good. Jake Ferguson's coming off a really good year last year. I think he'll have another great year for Dallas. Defensively will be interesting. They're still good defensively, but losing Dan Quinn, we'll see how much of an effect not having Dan Quinn there will be for Dallas, because he done wonders with that defense the last couple of years. So we got Dallas at 10 right now, and I know Dallas fans are not going to like it. Okay, that's what I feel. That's what I feel. But I think by the end of the season, they're going to be one of those teams, once again, that's competing towards the top. But we'll see. We'll see. At number 9, the Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins are, on paper, once again, a team that they look like they could, the sky's the limit. They look like they can be super great. Waddle, Hill, Mostert, Achane, I always say his name wrong. Devin Achane, Tua, offensively, they look great offensively. There's no reason. They picked up Malik Washington, who led the nation last year in college football with receptions for UVA. They bring him in. So I just like what they've done overall offensively. Defensively, they bring in future Hall of Famer Calais Campbell. I think he'll help, be a nice piece on that defensive line. Jalen Phillips will be back this year. They drafted Chop Robinson. They got Jalen Ramsey, Kendall Fuller from Washington. The Dolphins are another team that the sky's the limit, and it's all on what they make out of it. Last year, they, just like Dallas, they couldn't beat good teams. Heck, the only really good team they beat last year, record-wise, was Dallas. So they've got to get that monkey off their back this year. Like, when you see the Dolphins, oh yeah, they're going to destroy those middle of the road and weak teams, but can they beat the bad boys, the ones that you see in front of them, the ones you see in the front here in this top 10? Those teams, those are the type of teams you want to see the Dolphins beat this season. Next, at number 8, the Rams. I really like this Rams team, y'all, and we'll get into that a little bit later. I really like this Rams team. Puka Nacua, Cooper Kupp, hopefully back and healthy. Kyron Williams comes in last year, had a great season. He got nicked up a little bit, but he had a great season. My guy, Steve Avila, who I got a chance to interview during the Super Bowl. He's going to be the center this year. That's my guy right there, man. We had a really good interview during the Super Bowl last year. I really enjoyed that. He was a lot of fun to talk to. And maybe that's why I feel the way I feel about the Rams, but the energy just feels different. They got Kobe Turner, who's coming in to be the guy now to maybe not take the place of Aaron Donald, because no one can take the place of Aaron Donald, but try to fill in the shoes just a little bit. He had a really good rookie season last year. They draft Jared Verse. And then, Tre'Davious White, who's a Pro Bowler, they grab him from Buffalo. Cameron Curl, who a lot of people saw as one of the best safeties in the NFL. He was consistently ranked in PFF as one of the best safeties in the NFL. And then Quinn Lake, another young guy that they got last year. I just like the Rams. And Sean McVay had that team in the playoffs, even after a little bit of a rough start. I like what they got going there. I like the Rams. They're at number 8. At number 7, oh, man, the Philadelphia Eagles. The Eagles are loaded. It's almost unfair how loaded the Eagles are. They traded for Jahan Dotson, who was having some moments in his situation in Washington, and now he's going to come in, shoot for that third position at the receiver position with the Eagles. But if everything works out, I mean, you got 3 first-round picks. Well, Brown plays like a first-round pick, but 3 really solid receivers, a decent offensive line, let me say decent, a solid offensive line. No, that's not so solid. A good offensive line. We'll go good. Dallas Goddard should be back and healthy. Of course, you got Jalen Hurts, who is, good. No, he's great. So when and if they can keep him healthy, he was nicked up with that injury last year, and it showed that last when they were 10-1, that last 6 games was hard to watch because it was like, man, they just slowly but surely gave away that lead in the NFC East. They were the number 1 seed that just faded away, and then they lose in the first round of the playoffs. And so offensively, I think they'll be fine. Defensively, you got guys like Jalen Carter, Jordan Davis, Devin White, who they brought in from Tampa, Darius Slay, C.J. Gardner-Johnson is back. They drafted Cooper DeJean and Quinyon Mitchell, 2 young guys, two people at the cornerback position that people said the best cornerbacks in the draft. So they're loaded again. But can Nick Sirianni, pipe down all the rumors about how him and Jalen Hurts are not on the same page? We'll see if they figure it out. Eagles are at 7. At 6, I got the Cleveland Browns. The Cleveland Browns are another team to me that I think could do really, really good. But it's all about, can Deshaun Watson be the Deshaun Watson of old? We have not seen that. I saw a glimpse of it when they played the Commanders 2 years ago, and I said, now that's the Deshaun Watson they get. That's going to be something special. Last year he gets nicked up. He's hurt. Joe Flacco comes in, makes the playoff push. They lose in the first round to the Texans. But if they can keep it all together, if they can get Nick Chubb back later this season healthy, or at least back to the Chubb that we know, the Nick Chubb that we know, man, wow, sky's the limit. We got the Browns at 6. At 5, the team that beat them in the playoffs last year, the Houston Texans. Now, y'all got to remember, I had Houston at the bottom last year. I want to say they were either 31st or they might have been 30. They were in that bottom 3 last year. And by the season end, they were one of the best teams in the league. They win the division last year from worst to first. They loaded up this offseason, and you say to yourself, man, this team is ready to make a push. And on paper, they should not be a team that loses a lot of games. On the receiver front, you got Nico Collins, who had a really good breakout year. Tank Dell, who was great last year, got hurt. They bring in Stephon Diggs. They still got Robert Woods. Or they bring in Robert Woods, who was really good with the Rams, but he's their 4th receiver. John Meachin III, who's got some trade rumors in there that he may get traded before the season, but they're good there. They got a really solid offensive line led by Laramie Tunstall, Shaq Mason in there, Titus Howard. And then they bring in Joe Mixon to be their lead back to go with Dameon Pierce, who Dameon Pierce was the man a couple years ago for this Texans team when they were struggling. So you got a nice 1-2 punch there. Then defensively, you got Will Anderson Jr., who was the defensive player of the year, Derek Stingley Jr., who they drafted a couple years ago, Jimmy Ward, Jalen Petrie. They just have pieces. Daniel Hunter. I can go on and on. I got the Texans at number 5, and we'll see. At number 4, the Detroit Lions. They're back for more, ready. They are ready to make the run that they want to make. They are ready to go back to the Super Bowl. This is going to be probably the most difficult thing for the Lions, is trying to build on last year, because it's hard for a team that sometimes that doesn't have the history of being able to bounce back. Now they've been able to have 2 solid seasons. Now that 2 years ago they didn't make the playoffs, but they had a solid season. Last year they make the playoffs, they go to the NFC Championship. And they're not eyeing NFC Championship this year. They're eyeing Super Bowl. They are eyeing the Super Bowl. I like Dan Campbell. I like Amon-Ra St. Brown. I like to see Jared Goff back to where he is. Sam Laporta, Penei Sewell, Jamar Gibbs. They have the pieces that they need offensively. Aiden Hutchinson leading that defense. It's going to be tough for them not to, it's going to be tough for them not to keep things rolling. So I like the Lions. We'll see what they do there at number 4. At number 3, the Baltimore Ravens. This team has to have one of the biggest chips on their shoulder. They get to the AFC Championship game. They're at home at the AFC Championship game, and they cannot beat the Kansas City Chiefs. Just can't do it. No matter what they could do, they just couldn't do it. Just wasn't happening. unfortunately for them. And they had chances in the game. And it wasn't nothing that Kansas City did special, it's what they didn't do. So I know Lamar Jackson and the boys are ready for another season, and they're ready to change people's minds and get to the Super Bowl. Our Karita Parks at Bowie Television is ready and on the ground there. She's going to bring good reporting all year. You make sure you check that out. At number 2, the San Francisco 49ers. Now, you know, my 1 and 2 is always, I try to pay tribute to the year before. If your teams were, you know, you make it to the Super Bowl, you deserve at least that much. So I got San Francisco at number 2. A lot of controversy in the offseason, mostly because they trying to pay Brandon Ayuk. They get that done. The Trent Williams situation, it was just a lot of outside noise. But now the season is here. I expect this team to be ready to rock and roll. Got San Francisco at number 2. Last but not least, the defending Super Bowl champions. And no matter what, I always give the champion their due. And the number 1 team this year in the power rankings to start off, the Kansas City Chiefs. So I'm not going to go too deep into them. Y'all know who the Kansas City Chiefs are. You know what they've been able to do. And they're going to – I'm a strong believer until you can prove that they can't, that's where they are. So there it is, the top 10. We've got the Cowboys, the Dolphins, the Rams, the Eagles, the Browns, the Texans, the Lions, the Ravens, the 49ers. And last but not least, the number 1 team heading into week 1, the Kansas City Chiefs. All right, so there it is, our first power ranking of the year. We've set the table for the rest of the season, and I'm going to throw the disclaimer out there because I feel like I have to do it every year. But, you know, those first couple of weeks, we're going to do this power ranking based off of record, you know, almost kind of like how they're doing with the record. So if your team is, you know, let's say we got a couple of 3-2 teams, I will base it off of all those 3-2 teams kind of grouped together and then figure out who I think is best from there and on and on and on. So that's how I will go first couple of weeks. As the season goes along, that'll start to break up a little bit, and it'll be a little bit more accurate as the season goes along, because you got to kind of find out where these teams are and kind of discover who they are. So, but we'll see. Well, let's go ahead and finish this thing up, man. And we got a long one today. Pause. We got a long one today, and it is time for the finale. All right. So with the finale this year, we're doing something a little bit different to start the season off. But first, let's go with the MVP candidates that I have for this year. So my MVP candidates heading into week 1, number 5, Tyreek Hill. He was ranked the best player by the NFL players this past season. So congratulations to him. You know, he said a couple years ago that was his goal. He wanted to win that award, and the players honored him with that last year. He was amazing last year. So Tyreek Hill at number 5. Number 4, CJ Stroud. Now, I'll be honest with you, in my heart, I feel like he's going to be the MVP this year. I'll just say that now. I haven't ranked for number 4 right now, but I feel like he's going to win the MVP this year. At least if they can keep things rolling in Houston, I feel like he will be the MVP. At number 3, Myles Garrett. I try to throw a defensive guy in there always. I try to keep a defensive guy in there. And, you know, we know it's hard for a defensive guy to win the MVP. But the year he had last year leading that Browns defense, I'm excited to see what him and the Browns defense will do this year. I got Myles Garrett at number 3. He was a defensive player of the year last year. At number 2, Christian McCaffrey. You know, without him, it's hard for the 49ers to be who they were last year. And I feel like he's going to be great again this year. And as long as he stays healthy, the sky's the limit. He's a little nicked up right now, but he should be playing. But we'll see. Christian McCaffrey's at number 2. And at number 1, Pat Mahomes. They've reloaded him up with some weapons. You know, Xavier Worthy comes in, and he looks like he could be Tyreek Hill 2.0, maybe not with the hands just yet. We got to see how the hands, some people say his hands are like cement blocks or whatever, but we'll see. But you don't make it this far without having some talent. So we'll see what they are able to do. Those are my top 5 MVP candidates heading into week 1. Now, my favorite one to do every year, we do 5 players that will have a breakout season. At number 5, Will Levis. Will Levis has the pieces around him, you know, to be able to have a really good year. As long as he takes care of the football, there's a chance that Will Levis could have a really good year. Now, I'm not saying playoffs, but a really solid second, campaign, that sophomore campaign. So I look out for Will Levis this year. This is a chance for him to break out. Number 4, Brian Robinson. Brian Robinson is entering his 3rd season in the NFL, and I really think this is going to be a big year for him. I think the way the way Dan Quinn will kind of have things rolling him and Anthony Lynn and that crew, I think they're really going to try to work Brian Robinson this year. They're going to make him be as tough of as a runner as he can be. Cliff Kingsbury is going to have some good things working for him and Austin Eckler, but watch out for Brian Robinson this year. I got him at number 4. At number 3, Dontavian Wicks from the Green Bay Packers. Wicks is the 4th receiver on that Packers team, but you can argue that he had a really big impact on that team this last year because everybody was so focused on Christian Watson or Dobbs or even Jaden Reed by the middle of the season. So, and a lot of whispers that, Wicks is going to be that guy. But if they do try to press him, they've got like 6 receivers on Green Bay. All of those guys contribute. Milton, it's just, it's an embarrassment of riches for young receivers, an embarrassment of riches. I can't get my words out. Embarrassment of riches to have these many young receivers in Green Bay. So I'm excited about that. I can't wait to see what they have there. At number 2, Trenton Simpson. He's going to be taking over the role for Patrick Queen. And he's had a really good preseason, and I think he has a chance to really explode on the scene and be a big part of this Ravens defense this year. If the Ravens do anything well, they find ways to make their defense better every single year. So Trenton Simpson, watch out for him this year. He's my number 2 breakout guy. Number 1, Kobe Turner. Kobe Turner had a really good first season, and now that Aaron Donald is gone, I don't know if that's going to help him or hurt him, but I think that he has a chance to really prove that he can be a really, really good defensive lineman. And I think that this is going to be his year that we start talking about him maybe going into next year as, a top 5 defensive lineman in the league. We'll see if that happens or not. So that, ladies and gentlemen, in my 5 players that will have a breakout season. Now let's head to a new part that I'm doing for the season opener, and these are the division standings. First, we'll start with the NFC. First, this is where I have the NFC South. I got the Falcons winning the division at 12-5. The Buccaneers at 6-9. Now, I did all of this through Playoff Predictor. Now, I just kind of went through and did it. I did it a couple times, and this is what I came up with. So we're going to go with this and see if this is accurate or not. But if you go to playoffpredictor.com, you can kind of go through and pick each game in the season and they kind of calculate everything. So I like the tool. But based off of what my feelings were, or at least the way I picked, we had the Falcons go 12-5. The Buccaneers go 6-9. The Panthers finishing in 3rd at 5-12. And then the New Orleans Saints finishing 3-14. They're going to be bad this year, y'all. I just got a bad feeling about it. Heading to the NFC East, we got the Eagles finishing in 1st with a 12-5 record. We have the Cowboys finishing 10-7. Yes, 10-7, but then that could be higher, but we'll have 10-7 because I still think they're going to have some battles throughout the season, but I think they'll still make the playoffs. At number 3, the Washington Commanders at 8-9. I think they'll be better this year, but I don't know if they're playoff worthy just yet. We'll see. The New York Football Giants at 3-14. In the NFC North, we got the Lions winning the division at 12-5. I think the Packers will also be 12-5, but they won't win the division. The Lions will have a better division record and win the division. The Bears will be 8-9, but I got a feeling that's going to probably be more like 10-7. Like I said, when I did this, I was picking through on the screen, so I was kind of surprised where my mind went. So could have been Homer, who knows? And then number 4, the Minnesota Vikings at 1-16. I don't know how good they're going to be this year. They'll probably win about 3 or 4 games, but for whatever reason, I only had them winning 1 game through this. Next, the LA Rams. I got the LA Rams winning the NFC West this year, but it's going to be close. I think them and San Francisco will have the same record, but I think the Rams may beat them twice this year. I think the 49ers beat them twice last year, but I think the Rams will get some payback this year and beat them twice this year. We have the Seahawks finishing 10-7, and then the Arizona Cardinals at 5-12. In the AFC, we moved to the AFC. I got the Houston Texans finishing 13-4, the Tennessee Titans 7-10, the Jaguars 6-11, and the Colts 6-11. And the AFC South is screwy every year, so don't be surprised if this is completely flipped upside down. But I really like the Texans and the way they're being built, and DeMarco Ryans and the way that team is going. But I feel like that the Texans will win that division. In the AFC East, I got the New York Football Jets winning the division at 12-5, the Dolphins at 10-7, the Bills at 9-8, and the Patriots at 1-16. That's two 1-16 teams. I must not really care about people at all. But I like Aaron Rodgers and what Rodgers will hopefully be able to do if he stays healthy this year. If they can keep him healthy, the sky's the limit for the Jets, and I think they can win the division. And I'm still kind of skeptical on the Bills, and the Dolphins also are a team that I think can also win the division, but it all really depends on if they can win those games, those big boy games this year. Next, the AFC North. AFC North is going to be the best division in football. I said it last year. I say it again this year. They're going to be the best division in football. I got the Browns going 13-4, winning the division over the Ravens, who are also 13-4. But it's another case like the Rams and the 49ers where I think the Browns will sweep the Ravens this year. They did it last year, but I got a feeling they're going to do it again this year. And then the Browns will win the division. And it's all based off if Deshaun Watson has a really good year. So we'll see. Like I said, Ravens at finishing second. The Bengals finishing 12-5. They'll be in the mix, and they will be third. And then the Steelers will be 10-7. Last but not least, the AFC West. This will be another division where the other teams below the Chiefs are not that good, in my opinion. So Chiefs 14-3, the Raiders 7-10. The Chargers 4-13, and then the Broncos 2-15. So it'll be picking up towards the top again next year. Now, based off of what I said standings wise, this is what the playoffs would look like. The Chiefs and the Eagles would be the 1 seed. In the 2-7 matchups, we would see the Texans, the 2 seed, taking on the 7 seed Dolphins, the 2 seed Rams taking on the 7 seed Cowboys, and in the 3 seed, 6 seed matchup, we would see Browns and Bengals, battle of the NFC North, AFC North, but also battle of Ohio. Then in the NFC, we will see the 3 seed Falcons take on the 6 seed Packers. That'll be an interesting one. And then in the 4 and 5 seeds, we'll see the Jets take on the Ravens, and then we'll see the Lions take on the 49ers. So Jets and Ravens would be, I think, out of the weekend would be one of the ones I'm going to be really intrigued to see Aaron Rodgers go up against Lamar Jackson to see if, and the Jets having a home playoff game for the first time in what is it, 2010? Oh man, I was still doing rollback commercials then. But that's kind of where the playoff prediction will be. Now you wonder, Darrell, your Super Bowl prediction. Well, I was saying all those good things about the Rams. This is why. I don't have them winning the Super Bowl, but I have them going to the Super Bowl in New Orleans to take on the Kansas City Chiefs. Final score on that one is going to be 34-27. But I think that the Rams are going to have a really good season. I think they're going to shock some people this year and make it to the Super Bowl. Last year I had New Orleans in this spot, and they made me look bad. And I hope the Rams don't do that to me this year. So that's it for all the predictions for the season. Now, let's talk about tonight's matchup. The Kansas City Chiefs taking on the Baltimore Ravens. My prediction for tonight, I got the Chiefs winning this one 28-23. I think they remember what happened to them last year in that first game of the season, and they don't want that to happen again this year. I got the Chiefs getting the dub in tonight's matchup. Now, for the rest of the weekend, so of course we got the Chiefs tonight. Then we got the Packers beating the Eagles. You know, I'm not picking them to lose that first game of the season. I need those boys to start on the right foot. The Saints, the Giants, the Texans, the Bengals, the Falcons, the Bills, Seahawks, Dolphins, Raiders, Bears, Buccaneers, Browns, Rams, and 49ers. Those are my winners for week 1. So we'll see if that means anything. I kind of, we'll see how it goes. All right, everybody, that's it. That is it for episode 138 of 101 here on the Legacy Maker Sports Network, and of course, Aaron on Bowie Television. Thank you all once again for tuning in for our are special. You know, we always do that first one in the season a little bit longer than the ones during the year, but I'm glad you all were able to kind of sit back and watch it with me, or join me, I should say, for this episode. Once again, everybody, thank you all for tuning in. We'll be back next Thursday for episode 139 of One-on-One and give you week 2 of our power rankings. Until then, I got to get myself prepared for Tampa to see if the Commanders can beat the Buccaneers and get their season started off on the right foot. Well, until then, we'll see you all next Thursday. I'm Darrell Owens, Legacy Maker Sports Network, Bowie Television. Peace.
One, 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 one. Welcome to the one-on-one. When it comes to ratings, man, we number one. I get the truth, then I give them the scoop. If anybody got a question, I give them the proof.